aloha in our day. Spread a little aloha around the world at breakfast with Bob.
Thank you, Pancho Man. Welcome back to Breakfast with Bob, our Ironman Nice World Championship edition. We are brought to you by Master Spas. SFuels Go Longer, HOKA Fly Human Fly, Deboer Wetsuits, Quintana and of course, our Challenged Athletes Foundation. Our next guest coming off a huge win at Ironman Lake Placid. I think she's second in the Ironman series right now, in the Pro Series. Danielle Lewis joins us as she gets ready for World Championship Nice. How you doing, Danielle?
Hey, Bob, I'm doing so good. How are you?
I am great. And the thing that I'm looking at like at Ironman Texas, where you were ninth, you ran 3:18. And then you go to Challenge Roth and you run a 2:48, and then at Placid 2:52. Something's going on. Somebody's getting a lot better on the run. What's going on?
Well, it's not that the ability has changed so much, is that my nutrition has changed. The Ironman races that I've had, I really only had Ironman Arizona. I had a good run there. I was 2:52 there, but the other ones I just I've had a lot of GI issues. So it took after Texas, I was just kind of like, okay, enough's enough. I've got to like figure out what's going on and how to fix it. So before Roth, I just did a lot of testing on different things and finally figured out something that worked. And so I just replicated because at Roth I didn't have any issues, and so I figured I would just basically replicate that at Placid, and again, no issues. So yeah, feel good about it.
Well, I mean that Challenge Roth, when you've got Annie Hogg going what 8:02, whatever the hell she went
Oh
there,
my goodness.
and you're running 2:48. I mean, that was. Do you look at that as, even though I mean you won Placid, do you look at Roth as maybe the best race you've ever had?
Oh, the best race. It was definitely my favorite race experience,
Okay.
hands down. Um, the best race I've ever had. I mean, it was a good one for sure. I think a fifth in at a race like Roth is a great result, And for me, I knew I had Ironman Lake Placid 2 weeks after Roth, and with Roth, there wasn't like a huge like pressure on it, right? It wasn't like I
Right.
was doing it for like Pro Series points. It was really there for the experience. I also really needed to test out my nutrition strategy, right? And you can test stuff in training, but you really can't test things fully until like you're in a race situation. And so that's really what Roth was about for me. It was just about the experience and then getting the nutrition dialed in. And so for me, Roth also wasn't kind of like an all out effort. So I think that was just affirming that I'm in a good place.
Yeah, I mean, two marathons in 2 weeks. Who the heck does that? No world,
Hmm.
no world class marathoner is running marathons in within 2 weeks of each other. Did you
Yeah.
feel Roth? Did you feel your legs during Placid?
Ironman athletes are weird, aren't they?
You guys
Um,
are weird, by the way. Yeah.
yeah, it's very, very weird. Did I feel Roth? Um, the good thing about Roth is a large majority of the course is on a soft surface.
It is the canal and everything. Yeah.
Yeah. So the first few miles, you get out of town and you're on the road, and the last few miles are on the road. But a lot of it is flat and on that canal surface. So
Yeah.
honestly, when I was running at Placid, I never really felt bad, or I didn't really feel like I had done a marathon prior to. And I think part of that has to do with the nature of the course. And even like the nature of the shoes that we have available to us now, that the super shoes really do help protect your legs from a lot of impact.
It's funny because Patrick Langay and I were chatting about this, and he said it's great on race day, but the recovery from when you're using the super shoes, that has been a
Mhm.
big part, at least for him. He felt
Yeah.
he could come back and run hard again in training
Yeah.
faster than he could before.
Well, quite honestly, I do all of my long runs in an Alpha Fly. I mean, that's just what I feel comfortable in. I feel like the recovery is better also.
So with Placid, 25th anniversary, huge event, you win that. That's
Mhm.
pretty cool. Mike Riley's back there announcing.
Oh, I
It's
know.
right. It had all the trappings of something very, very special, which can put a lot of pressure on, and then you end up in winning the race.
Yeah, when I learned that he was coming back for Placid, I just had this feeling inside of me like, oh man, it would be so cool to be there and have him call me over the line again. Like, how cool would it be to like also call me over the line, but like be the first place person? And that thought crossed my mind like really early in the season, just after they had made that announcement. And I knew that like it was kind of on my internal radar, but my husband, like, he never thought I would do another Ironman, especially 2 weeks after Roth, right? Just because like there's injury risk, there's
Sure.
fatigue, there's all the stuff that goes into it. So yeah, it was certainly very special. And then for because my first part of the year didn't quite pan out how I was hoping it would and planning on it, I needed to do Placid for points for the Ironman Pro Series. So yeah, it was kind of a really, really special moment, but I always had really good feelings about it too. So
Good for you. So
mhm.
with Nice, and obviously the uphills are 8,000 feet of climbing, but also the descents can be pretty
Mhm.
scary. What type of specific training have you done for Nice?
Yeah, I don't find them scary. I think that they're fun.
Well, that's people who have that attitude race well there.
Yeah. So I did the Nice 70.3 Worlds in
Right.
2019.
Yep.
hmm and I thought that course was a blast, and I'm very excited to go back and do. I mean, much of that course is it's similar, right? There's lots of overlap, and a lot of the descending is the same. Um, so what kind of training have I done for this? We live here in Boise, Idaho, and you've been here. You know, we have mountains and things,
Oh yeah.
places to go climbing, and actually we have Bogus Basin, which is 16 miles on top of this like ski mountain, and you can ride your bike 16 miles one way to the top, and then it's a pretty technical descent on the way down. I did get out and do that a little bit. However, our fire season here in Idaho has just been awful.
Yeah.
And that's honestly, that's the one thing that hasn't quite gone to plan. I was planning on getting out quite a bit more to just get on the bike and just practice some of the technical bits. I mean, I'm confident in my bike handling skills and being able to ride descents and ride them fast. I find it fun, like I said. But with the fire and the air quality just being so poor the past few months, I've just still had to be indoors for most of my training, which is fine. I mean, that's what I'm used to, so it is what it is. Mhm.
So this Ironman Pro Series came about as this is perfect for you, right? You like the longer. I mean, you've had a lot of success, 70.3 and full. So this is
Mhm.
perfect for you.
I mean, to me, it just has my name written all over it. Like it's
Yeah.
just such a great fit for me. So when I learned about it, I was just very excited about it, and I'm still very excited to see how the rest of the season plays out.
So after like, a lot of people would look at the Ironman World Championship and go, "Okay, my season's done." No, it's it's September. You
Mhm.
still got a lot left. What will you do after that?
Well, the only thing I scheduled is the 70.3 Worlds in New Zealand.
Taupo, yeah.
So really, I've got two races left, and you know, I feel like Nice is going to be a good day, and I don't feel like I'm going to need to go, you know, throw any Hail Marys to try to snag points at anything else. Um, but there is another race on the calendar that if push comes to shove and I have to put something on the calendar, then I might just have to take a risk and do that. But yeah, as of now, it's just Nice and New Zealand.
When did you get the feeling that you could be one of the best at this? Because it seems this last year in particular, you've really grown as an athlete.
Well, I appreciate that. You know, I think as athletes, like we know ourselves really well. You don't get into this sport thinking, you know, I'm just going to be like mediocre.
No,
Like you get into it thinking, okay, like I do believe like I could be really good at this, but our sport is certainly one that just it takes time for an athlete to develop. I didn't get into triathlon until later in life, into I was in my late 20s when I got into triathlon, and so you know it's taken me some time. I mean, I did throw myself into the pro fields almost right away.
yeah.
So I started triathlon in 2017 and started racing in the pro field in 2018. So I did throw myself into the deep end, and I've had to learn stuff pretty quickly as I've gone along. And so, you know, a lot of the athletes that I compete against, they've had a lot more time and experience in the sport, and I've had that time to develop. And I think for myself, a lot of just that endurance space that I've built is just kind of starting to really pay off, and the experience is paying off. So I think it's just a matter of time, and things are starting to come together.
When I look at like something like 2018, I just think 3, 6. I mean, like you're racing even back then. You're racing 8, 9, 10 times a year. That's a lot of
Mhm.
half marathons to be put together because that was it, right? Did you find that you just recovered quicker? Because that's a lot of racing.
That's interesting you say that. I didn't really think about it. I don't know. I think I kind of just went into a lot of those races just to race and just get experience and just see what I could do. I was working full time also, and then commuting at least 10 hours a week in training, maybe 15 hours a week at the time. So, yeah, I was certainly asking a lot of out of my life at that time. So I don't know that I really expected too much out of my body. But recovery was really, really challenging just because of working and then commuting a lot.
Yeah, and looking back at your background, so Baylor All-American steeplechase, completed Olympic trials. I don't think there's anything tougher than steeple. I steeple is just freaking brutal. And as
Yeah.
I remember I was interviewing Tom Hunt, who had done some steeple, but was American record holder for, the 10K. And he said the thing about running is you can fade. The thing about steeple is all of a sudden 1 second you're great, next second you're dead. There's like no fading when you're doing the steeple. True?
Yeah. It's a really tough race. It's interesting. It feels like because I've done several different types of races on the track and then cross country racing. Every race feels like it has its own different type of pain.
Yes.
And the steeple pain is certainly unique. It's like as you're going along, the barriers only get taller, right? And it's always such a sense of relief once you hit that last barrier, you get over it, you've cleared it, and you just have to get down that last home stretch, another barrier, and then you're good to go. But yeah, I mean, this could be TMI, but like every single steeplechase race that I did, I always involuntarily peed my pants. Just because like you're pushing your body so hard and you just kind of like lose control. I mean, that just speaks to how tough the race is.
It's so brutal. And everybody goes over to the pit, right? Every spectator that's at a track meet, you go to the water pit because that's where the carnage is.
It is where the carnage is because I myself have been the forefront of carnage before.
What's happened to you at the pit?
Well, this was let's see here. I was preparing for, at the time we had regional championships that preceded the national championships. And I already had a good solid time going into nationals. I just needed to basically finish like in the top 12 at regionals. Although at regionals, if you're the top 2, you get an automatic to nationals. So anyways, that was the situation. I simply needed to play top 12. However, about I want to say it was a week, I don't know, a week or two before the regional meet, I had a track workout where I was going over a barrier and landed on my heel really hard.
Oof.
And I ended up, it was a deep bone bruise at the time. I didn't run on earth, we did like aqua jogging
Yeah.
in preparation. And maybe it was like the day before the race that I actually did some running on earth with like a pad in the heel of my shoe. And then so I enter the race. I'm like, okay, I just need to place top 12, right? And so I think it might have been the second barrier. I don't know to this day what happened, but I was going over it. And next thing I know, I'm like face down in the water. At the time, I was like, I think sitting in like second or third, perhaps, in the race at that moment. And
Yeah.
so all I could imagine were all these people coming over a steeple barrier and landing on me with their spikes like in my
Yeah.
back. And thankfully that didn't happen. I was able to get up. I did finish the race. I was 12th by like 200ths of a second, but I could not walk after the race. And I ended up being a fracture in my heel. And so at that point, my season was done. And that was the same year as the trials.
What's the other thing that's always got me is in the early days of triathlon, people who came over to the sport of triathlon were Navy SEALs. They played water polo. They came from steeplechase. I mean, sort of they did the 200 IM, right? For they understood pain. They were looking for another outlet for pain after they graduated college. And for you, is that what led you into triathlon?
Well, what led me to triathlon? I've had a lot of ups and downs in my career. I've talked about this a lot in various podcasts and things, but like after my running career, I got sick. I took a year off, and that year ended up gaining like 50 pounds in a year.
Yeah.
And then, one day the light bulb went on and I was like, you can do what you want to do. You just have to set your mind to do it. And I gave myself a workout plan, a nutrition plan, and I just got to work, got on a bicycle to get back into shape. I thought at that point I'd do triathlon, but then in the process of training for it, I actually did win a couple. I was like, well, I won my age group and then was second female overall in those. I was like, okay, cool. Like triathlon's going to be fun. But then I had a bike crash, broke my shoulder, had to have surgery. Yes. And then that just led me to ride a bike and start racing. And so within 3 years, ended up on a domestic elite team and was traveling around the US competing and racing. But then I had another bad bike accident and fractured a couple bones in my back.
Oh.
And then I kind of gave up on sport. I was like, okay, I'm just going to focus on my career in public health and my family and just, I'll do some racing, but make it just kind of like no pressure, local stuff. But, anybody that is just kind of a true athlete at heart, that doesn't last long.
Right. What's next?
So I still had these dreams of being a professional athlete. And I was like, you know what? In 2017, I said, this is my year. I am just going to go for it. And I'm just going to take back whatever those fears, the lies, the doubt, all of that just stole from me. And I'm just going to go for it. And that was the same year that I won all 3 USAT duathlon national titles. I was third at the USAT Olympic distance nationals, which got me my elite license. And then I even was first overall female age group athlete at Cozumel 70.3.
Right.
So then,
it happened fast.
It did. But, it's just kind of how things work out in life. There's just, you always look back and you think, okay, do I wish things could have gotten differently? Do I wish I would have gotten into triathlon sooner? Part of me wants to say yes, but then another part of me is like, well, you have this story and you've been given this story for a reason to hopefully motivate and inspire others to continue to persevere no matter what they're facing.
Yeah, and we deal with so many athletes who obviously their athletic career was heading in one direction. They have an injury and they move on to something else because they still have that passion. Something is still burning to be an athlete. And you never know where that journey is going to take you. And yours brought you obviously to the perfect sport. And then here Ironman goes, we're going to create a pro series. It's like, we'll call it the Danielle Lewis Open. Right? It's
That's funny. Well, maybe fingers crossed by the end of the year when all the scores are finalized, then yes. If I'm sitting on top, then we can call it that, right? Right.
Was there one race that made you think, okay, I can be a pro. I can race with the best?
Well, okay. Yeah. It's actually my very first 70.3. I was first amateur, but I was also 6th female overall. So that would have put me in the money. I mean, you can't compare amateur racing and pro racing. I understand that because like you actually have a bunch of people on course and like anyways, but still like that was like, okay, wow, I think I could probably do this.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So I just went for it.
Yeah. That's the coolest thing. And look at you, you've raced so many. For somebody who had a lot of injuries from cycling and everything else, you've stayed pretty injury-free during this triathlon time, no? Yes.
Knock on wood. Knock on wood.
Yeah. Because obviously when you're doing, I'm just looking at 18 for an example, but 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 70.3. So that's 9 half marathons. That's a lot. No pro runner is running 9 half marathons. That's a lot. And you've been doing it back to back to back to back. The one area, obviously you're running, you've made some huge gains in running, and that's the nutrition side. Swimming, that once you start swimming in the 50s, then we have a whole new ball game with Danielle Lewis.
Well, I know. And that's kind of what I've known for a long time. And it's funny because like after Placid, people are like, man, if you could just swim. I'm like, no kidding. I know. This is what I've been telling myself.
Tell me something I don't know.
Come on now. Like, I know you're just realizing this, but holy cow.
Yes.
I know, I get it. But recently I've made some changes and working with someone that I feel like very confident in, and I'm actually very excited. I feel like Nice might produce something very special. So
Nice.
yeah, I feel like I've kind of been cramming for an exam with some of these changes that I've made, but I feel much more connected and much more smooth in the water, better than I've ever felt. So, we'll see.
I love it. I love it. Well, best of luck in Nice. You're going to have a great time there. That's for somebody who loves the descents and is strong and been doing all the stuff you've been doing for the uphills. You're going to have a great bike ride. And obviously your running is better than it's ever been. So, the other thing is you've got, and I know you like this, the best people in the world are racing. Nobody's racing through this thinking, okay, I'm going to go do something else. This is it. And being at the starting line with the very best in the world and knowing that you can, obviously you're number 2 in the points right now, but you can make a big impact by having a great race.
Yes, I'm very excited. I think this is going to be such a different race than anything we've ever seen at Kona, just because the course is so different. If you watch the men's race last year, I mean, it just blew apart.
Yes.
And I think with the women, it's going to be even more like
separated. Yeah.
Yeah, spread out. So it's a course that suits me very, very well. So I'm very excited for it.
Love it. Danielle, thank you as always for taking time, and have a great race in Nice. We'll chat afterwards.
Absolutely. Well, thanks so much, Bob.
Danielle Lewis has been our guest again. Breakfast with Bob, our Nice World Championship edition. Thanks everybody for tuning in. We'll catch you next time. See ya.